Hello everybody, this is D King Bay, your book granny here with the book review for you. Oh yeah, today we have Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is the first book in a duology. And I heard somewhere after I read this one and I started reading the next one that they were thinking about making a third. I haven't read the second book yet, so to me, duology means duology. Leave the duology a duology. If it ended, let it end, but I'm going to leave that alone. So that's a whole nother thing. But anyway, as always, this will be a no spoiler zone. I do not give spoilers through my reviews. And if I do, I'm going to go in there and cut it out during editing. So if you see something, yeah, that means I probably had a little spoiler in there and I edited it out because stuff happens sometime, right? I will say that this is one of the books that I drew it from our TBR jar. And if there's a book that you want added to the TBR jar, put it in the comments. As long as it's not horror and not already on the list, of course, I will put it in the jar. I do ask that you only do one suggestion. And again, I read all the genres except for that horror stuff. So yeah. Also, I'm going to change the way we do our group discussions because quite frankly, you guys aren't participating, but that's okay. We still read. I still read. So what I'm going to do is, we can discuss any book that we've read, right? So on the reviews down inside the description, I will put links to the reviews so that we can go on and discuss those whenever you want. That way you're not rushed to go read it, right? But we'll still pick some from the jar and I'll just read them and review them and keep on moving, okay? So that is that. Let's get on with this here review. Six of Crows is set in the Grishaverse universe that Leigh Bardugo created. I haven't read any of the books before, so they say that this book, this duology, is fine to go ahead and read it without reading the other ones previously. And I read it and I read the first book and I had no problems understanding the book, so I guess that holds true. But I will say that I feel that maybe the world building in this wasn't as much. I'm thinking that was probably done inside of that Grishaverse trilogy. So I would recommend that you probably read those books first, and I will go back and read them eventually. But if I didn't feel as connected to this world, the world made sense. I mean, it followed the usual pattern of, the people with the magic, they've been enslaved or they've been, they're downtrodden or they're just treated terribly because everybody else is like afraid of them. So they basically subjugate these folks. So it followed that same trope, and that's fine. It followed the trope. So it's easy to understand, but I'm sure there are intricacies of this society that I missed because I didn't read the series first, the trilogy first. So I'm just suggesting that, you may want to read that before you read this. I don't know. We'll find out. So let's get on back to the book. Like I said, it's fit in that universe. And in it, you have Kaz. He is this, he's like a mastermind of this little criminal activity. It's really cute. I liked it. It was fun. But anyway, he's like a mastermind. He's a prodigy, as they say. Homeboy is only like 17, 18 years old. And he is running. He got his own gang. I mean, he is running things, right? So he's like, hey, they say, hey, we got this heist for you to do. And he's like, oh yeah, I can do that. And it's going to make him ridiculously rich, right? Ridiculously. And the people, his crew that he brings along with him will also, be rich because he's going to divide up this money that they're going to get once they successfully complete this heist. Well, he doesn't have all the people that he needs in order to do this heist properly. So this book is a found family, which I love found family books. They're like my top. And my other top is heist. So here they are. He's got to go find his little peoples so he can go pull off this heist. I love heist. I love found family. Like I said, those are my two favorites. And they also had like a enemies to lovers type story in there. And I'm not really a big fan of those, but that's in there. It's in there a little bit. So if you're interested in that, that's in there too. So we have Kaz. And there are actually like 6 people. It's Six of Crows, right? But the book is told from 5 of their point of view. And I like it. Most time they're all together, and you're just seeing what's happening from their points of view. And I really like that the author did that. She did a good job on the character development. Now, I will say that this book uses flashbacks quite a bit. I don't mind flashbacks, but flashbacks does slow down a story. And you got to remember, it's 6 of them, right? So flashbacks, even though you didn't get the flashbacks on one of them because they only went from 5 of their point of view. But when you tell all that backstory, so that is going to slow the book down some. I don't mind because I want to get to know these folks. But I know some people don't like flashbacks. So I did want to let you know there are quite a few flashbacks in this so you can get everybody's story. But I felt that was a good idea so I could get all their stories. So that made sense for me. Of all the characters, like I said, there are 6 main characters. Kaz was my least favorite. I'm going to tell you, again, all of them were like 16, 18 years old, around that range, right? And that's another issue that I had with the book. Even though they're like 16, 17, 18 years old, around that age, and I know they all had these hard lives and this, that, and the other, they read as way more mature than that. They read like in their mid-20s or something. They didn't read like no 17-year-olds. And even a 17-year-old that's had a hard life, because the biology of our brains, a 17-year-old is still a 17-year-old. You know what I'm saying? So I just couldn't feel that. So it was bothering me. So I just, in my head, I just flipped them to 25, in their 20s, because it didn't make sense. And it also that she kept mentioning it, that, 17 years old or 18 years old. I mean, it was like I don't understand why they kept on mentioning the age. Me, I would have just not even mentioned their age and let people figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Just mention that they're young or whatever. I wouldn't have put a number on it. I don't know, maybe because I don't know if this is supposed to be YA or what. I don't know, but yeah, I wasn't feeling that too much. But anyway, let's get back to the story. Kaz is the only one that I didn't really, I didn't like his character. The way that she did it, he always had, like I said, he's the leader, but he always had all these plans that he doesn't have time to make, and they're fantastical type plans. You know what I'm saying? Plans that he doesn't tell anyone that he's making. And when you do things that are this complicated, you're going to have to tell somebody, you're going to have to work with somebody to make these plans work. Even if you don't tell them the whole plan, you got to tell them enough for them to be able to help you. And all of a sudden, things just work out for him all the time. All the time. And that got old and redundant real fast. I'm like, dude. I'm like, y'all. Okay. But let's go on to the other characters who I actually like, because they were more realistic, if that makes sense. I know this is a fantasy world. So we had Inej. She was the Wraith. The Wraith is the one, she can climb walls, scale walls. She wasn't magic, She could scale walls and she could sneak up on people, and she was real silent. I liked her character a lot. Like, she was one of my favorite characters. She was well-rounded. I liked her little backstory. I liked that character. Inez was also like the right hand of Kaz. So, I mean, that was his girl. He needs something done. He knew that he could count on Inez. And then we had Jasper, who was like his left hand. And Jasper was the sharpshooter. And I always like some comic relief. So not Jasper, it was like Jesper. Jesper was more of the comic relief type person. And he always had something to say. He just always had a crack a joke. Don't get me wrong, the others would joke around too, but it's like he couldn't really take things seriously, I think because he was emotionally wounded or something like that, but he always has something to joke or say, and he has a gambling habit. So it's funny watching them, and they're out, Kaz and them, they're kind of looking out for him to make sure he don't get himself into trouble because of his gambling issue that he has. Then we have Nina. Nina isn't truly, well, I guess she is kind of a member of his gang, but they don't work together too much. Let's just put it like that. Nina is the one that actually has the Grisha abilities, and he needs her for the crew for different things, okay? So I don't want to give you too much away about, what's going on. I like Nina's character also, that she was more like the flirty, girly type one, but she can kick butt too. So I like that. Next came Matthias. And he's my favorite, and I have to admit I am biased toward the paladin type characters. I played Dungeons and Dragons. We played Dungeons and Dragons as a family, and now Pathfinder. And I always choose a paladin-like character, and he would be the paladin of the group. You know, the one that's, you know, you can't get through him. He's the protector, and he's got his righteous causes and this and that, but his righteous causes get in the way with other things sometimes. So I love characters like that because they got those internal conflicts. And by the way, everybody in this group of 6 people are pretty morally gray, except for Matthias, which is actually kind of morally gray also, but he don't realize it. So that's why I really like paladins, especially when you drop them in there with morally gray folks, because, you know, it's just not too much fun for them, shall we say. So I like Matthias's character. He was my favorite character, but again, I'm biased, so ignore me. I just like the paladins all the time, okay? Then last we have Wylan. And we didn't get to see his point of view, but you learn about him through all the other characters. I won't say he's the weakest character, but he's newer to the group. He ran away from home, basically a little spoiled, little rich kid, okay? He ran away from home because his home life was hard. And he gets in with the crew and he starts learning how to make bombs and things like that. And I really like the way they have him. He's not perfect. None of them are perfect, right? But him doing his little part, it was cute. I mean, he like helps saves the day sometimes. Like, see, y'all better appreciate that little dude. He trying, right? So I did getting them all together. But what I didn't like is literally, like I said, 6 of them. Why do they all have to have a romantic interest? That's a little bit much, and granted, it was a light part of the story. It wasn't like the main story. This is not a romantasy, but it was just like, everybody. Just like everybody. But anyway, so that part bothered me. But what didn't bother me is the diversity that she did in this book. In this world we live in, there are all different types of people, right? The world is very diverse. So it always amazes me, because this is literally the world we live in is diverse. It amazes me when I read a book and the author, it seems like they try to make something diverse and it seems forced. I'm like, it kind of makes me wonder about that person, because I'm like, where do you live? You know, don't get me wrong. I know some cultures, some people stay within their own little culture, but usually, you know what I'm saying, for the most part, we pretty much get out there and we associate with each other. It shouldn't be that difficult to write diversity. I'm just putting that out there. So I did like that. It was just, it's not a thing, you know, that I have to do. It just is. You get what I'm saying? She's really good. It just is part of, you know, it's like, okay, I breathe. I mean, it just is, okay? So I really like that. Overall, I did like this book, and I'm looking forward to the second one. I will say that a lot of times, okay, she leveraged. Do you ever watch the show Leverage? And then you had this group of crooks. These are modern day times, contemporary, and they go on to we'll call it a heist or a mission or whatever, and all this crazy stuff happens. And then after the heist, you find out how they actually pulled it off. They basically narrate what happened to pull it off. You'll see some bad things happen, this, that, and other. And you think they're not going to make it. And then after the fact, they explain, the leader of the gang explained how they did and how they accomplished what they did, right? Same thing with this book. I said, she just leveraged this book, because that happened throughout. Something would happen, and then after the fact, you get this little narrative from Kaz of, oh, this is how we pulled this off. A, B, C, D, E, F, G happened. And that's also probably why I didn't like him as much, because like I said, it was some because the whole team didn't know all the whole plans. He knew them. The reader doesn't know them. They're able to pull this stuff off, and then you don't see it pulled off. All this stuff happened off camera that he's like, oh, well, all these things happen. I didn't really like that aspect of it. But again, like I say, I still liked the book overall, okay? And I did like the heist and all that sort of stuff. And since it's a heist, a duology, you know, by the end of the book, they usually, this is how the trope works, they finish their heist, right? But something's going to go terribly wrong, that they're not going to get what they thought they were going to get. So then comes the second book where they go to the next phase of this. What happens after the heist? You know, what happens to this family that we just put together? What happens with everything? You know, how when things blow up for them, right? So that's what the second book's going to be. And like I said, I'm reading that now. I just started it, so I'm like only a chapter or so in. But it was a good book. I recommend it. I do suggest that you read the others first because I feel that I'm missing something. I'm just not connecting to the world itself. I'm connecting to the characters. I understand them, see what's going on, but the world itself, I understand it, I see it, but it's just, you know what I'm saying? It's just the basic world that this Christian verse is. So yeah, so I think I'm missing something on there. So I will go back and read the others. Not anytime soon, because I got a lot of other books and I don't want to let her get to have 5 books, but I got all these other books to read. But yes, I'm going to go and finish the second one. And that is it. Again, if you are interested in putting a book inside the TBR jar, I don't only read these TBR jar books, you know what I'm saying? I'll read them. It's like you guys picking my book out that I'm going to read. That's what we're going to call it. You pick the book, I read, you know. So I'll do it again in September because, you know, I got other books I want to read too, right? So I'll let you guys pick out the book every once in a while. That's what this TBR jar is for. And if you got a book, put it in there. Comments, no horror, or it's not going in the jar. Also, I'm going to put all the reviews in the description, at least I'm going to try to, so that if you want to comment on any of them, because that's what I encourage you to do, comment on anything you've read. Just make sure you put the word spoiler first, and then so you don't ruin it for anybody else. And we can talk about any of the books that I've read, any of the books that I've reviewed, okay? So that is it. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.